Hi everyone, I'm Clifford today, and you're not. I have a cold. So, in case I sound different or something, it's just weird because this is literally just a few days after I filmed my last video. All of a sudden I got stricken with a disease. So I'll definitely be editing out a lot of coughs and sneezes and sniffles if I can. Today I am being stared at by No Jacket Required by Phil Collins, as well as For Him Who Has Ears to Hear by Keith Green. As I said in my last video, 2020 was a year where we needed music more than ever. Some of us needed it to distract our minds, others needed it to make sense of things, and I'm sure plenty of others needed it to offer some hope. And despite the fact that I spent a whole video talking about all the bad Christian music that came out last year, there was actually quite a bit of good Christian music that I didn't really even know what to do with. I actually had a little bit of difficulty squeezing in some songs on this list. So that's promising, even though that doesn't mean that Christian music has been saved in the slightest. We still had a lot of bad music that was way too popular for its own good. So we still have a long, long way to go. I just wanted to remind everyone that the concept of these videos is to pick the best songs that made it to the top 50 Christian charts. That is the true definition of a pop song. It's that it's a popular song. I'm just saying this now because I already know that there are a few songs on this list that would make some of you think, wait a minute, that's not a pop song, that's a rock song, or fill in the blank. Technically, some of these songs aren't pop by genre, just by definition. Now that we got that cleared up, let's get to the good stuff. I gotta admit, I had no idea who GAVI was before the year 2020. I'm sure it doesn't really help that I've never really been that plugged into the Christian hip-hop scene. I mean, of course everyone knows Lecrae, but I was never really a follower. Grew up with DC Talk, then later Toby Mac, listened to some Grits. Always been a pretty big fan of John Rubin, but in terms of who's big now, I don't know them unless they made it to the top 50. And this year, GAVI did make it with this banger of a track. This song immediately caught my attention with its beautiful, luscious production and full melodic sound. This is the kind of production that you only hear in secular radio, like The Weeknd or Post Malone.
Love me, you wake me up from my sleep, gonna love me more than enough, cause I know you gonna tell me that I'm close to your heart, gonna tell me that I'm not too far, gonna.
So I was instantly intrigued and decided to look more into this guy. I listened to the rest of his new album, Heathen, and while I didn't love all of it, I mean, granted, some casual hip-hop fan is probably not the target audience, it was noticeably better quality than most other Christian hip-hop artists. It sounded more mainstream, and yet it still sounded like his own sound. He seems to have a really good ear for production. I watched the mini documentary he released about the behind the scenes of the making of his album, and I learned a lot about him. Apparently GAVI, or Gabriel Alberto Azuquina, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, had been growing tired of being boxed in creatively with his music, having to curb his style just in order to appeal to the general Christian music audience. And he decided he wanted to take more risks with this album.
I really wanted to cause noise in the industry. I feel like I was trying to make people happy. I had everyone in my corner saying, "GAVI, you should do this. GAVI, you should do that. You got to think about the youth groups. You got to think about Christians in different spaces." I don't know. And I was still trying to figure out the sound and artist life. The gospel never changed. The messaging never changed. I just wanted to make people happy, and I wasn't making myself happy. There were songs on Panorama that I was like, man, this could be dope on radio. And hearing radio stations go, "GAVI, your music's too risky for us." I was like, fight for me, risky? How is it too risky to put on the radio station? They prefer, the worship chords. But man, when you have a Christian station or a Christian, whatever it may be, and that's all you give people, and that's what people's perspective of Christianity is, I'm like, y'all driving something into people culturally where it doesn't even connect with a lot of people. Like people in the hood, we're not listening to country. Latinos, there's certain music that we don't connect with. Christian music shouldn't just be folky guitars, and Hillsong does it amazing. Hillsong has changed my life. But I would say they are the pioneers of that sound. Every single church in the United States is trying to be, Hillsong on their worship team, which is nothing wrong with that. I promise you, I've had many times at the altar crying with that kind of music. But when you're considering that the only genre of Christianity, I'm like, bro, hold up, why?
I think I love this man. But seriously, he speaks so much to the very same problems that I have with Christian music. Gabriel is taking chances, and I honestly think that he could influence Christian hip-hop as we know it. And I'm here for it. Adding something fresh to the industry. Someone like that definitely boosts their chances of getting on my list. And it just so happens that this song is catchy as heck and wonderfully produced. I hope to hear more from you in the future, GAVI. I know some of you may be a little surprised to see this song on my list. Even though it's technically not a song from 2020, it definitely was the year that it got big and admittedly got a little overplayed in church and on the radio. Not even just one version. There were multiple people who covered this song, all the way from Michael W. Smith to Leland to Passion, and they all got a lot of attention. So I'm sure a lot of you may think it's a little uncharacteristic of me to include such a overplayed and massive big CCM hit, since I'm usually such a hipster and heartless critic. First of all, come on guys, I'm not that heartless. Secondly, yeah, I honestly wasn't too crazy about the song at first either. Felt it was a little repetitive. Didn't change my mind until I finally got to do the song for worship. And I don't know, the song feels different when you worship to it. Don't really know how else to explain it. But that's only half the reason why it ended up on my list. So I used to think that Leland and Mandisa and Passion were covering Michael W. Smith. Nope. Turns out Smithy didn't write this one either. So I looked into who actually wrote and produced this song, and I have to tell you, I did not expect to find what I found. Yep. Turns out Waymaker was released around the year 2015 by Nigerian singer and worship leader Sinak. and I will try my best to pronounce her real given name. Osunaki Kalu Okoro Egbu. Turns out she's a real big hit in Nigeria. I had never heard of her before, but now that I have, I love her. She just seems so sweet and genuine, more genuine than most Christian artists.
Miracle walking, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are.
She's also a very generous and understanding person. Turns out a lot of her fans were complaining about how Michael W. Smith and all those other artists who covered her would steal her credit, but Sanaa wasn't even worried. She went on record to say that she was grateful that the song and her other work could reach a wider audience.
Let me tell you, it is a joy that will have someone like Michael W. Smith record my music. I mean, when he talked about it, I was like, this is so beautiful, you know. Like I said, it's a joy that many people record your music, because there's a lot of people recording, they have like 50 albums, but nobody knows one song in it and nobody's singing it. So that's not success. Success is when you put out something and many people are influenced by the by what you have done and your work.
So are you worried that, you know, because Michael Smith is obviously such a big recording artist, very renowned, are you worried that it could then be seen globally if it reaches like a far wider audience, that it could be seen as Michael Smith's song and not your song? Are you worried about that?
No, I'm not worried at all. I have over 200 songs. I've recorded a lot of songs. I have over 9 albums, and I still write every day. I'm working on an amazing worship album, an album inspired with what is going on right now. I did a lot of writing, and I can never be intimidated. I think it's an advantage because he has a community that he ministers to, and I have a community. So it's like introducing the song to a wider audience. And that's beautiful. And that's beautiful. That means what I'm doing is working.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm not. Instead, I feel so blessed. I feel so loved. I mean, the love is amazing.
And while her music may not be what I normally listen to, it's good to know that there's another Christian artist out there who loves what she does and has a passion for God like she does. So while Mandisa and Passion may have hit the charts with this song in 2020, this win really is for Sanaa. Okay, let me preface this next entry. This next one is kind of more of a guilty pleasure. I used to listen to a lot of Red when I was a young, edgy teenager. Their musical arrangements and vocals just hit a right chord within the emotionally confused heart of mine. I was very much drawn to the heaviness of the music and the passion and emotion. I followed the band for a while, and I listened to their first 3 albums, End of Silence, Innocence, and Instinct, Until We Have Faces, over and over. Eventually, as I got older, my music taste changed, and I was drawn to even heavier music. Simultaneously, Red just wasn't edgy enough for me, and I kind of put them in the same category as bands like Skillet and 1000 Foot Crutch as heavy butt rock. Plus, their album Release the Panic was objectively bad. Poorly produced and poorly written, just bad. So I left Red to the wayside for many years. One of the perks of doing these videos for the past year or so is that I have no choice but to listen to every song that makes it to the top 50, thereby giving me the chance to reconnect with artists that I maybe hadn't listened to in years. Sometimes that's a bad thing, but sometimes that's a good thing. I can't really give a good reason why this song made it on my list, other than that listening to this song was like running into an old friend. The guitars, the complementing orchestra, Michael Barnes' vocals, it's all very nostalgic for me. It wasn't just Red, but it was good Red. I haven't really listened to their past few albums, so I don't really know how they differ from each other or from their early releases. But this just really sounds like something from their first 3 albums. Just really brings me back to when I used to wear Hot Topic t-shirts with black Walmart jeans, crying about girls. It's nostalgic for that era, but not really in a cringy way, if that's possible. Not only that, but the passion in their music, it's still there. The heavy guitars, the bittersweet melodies, the sweeping string arrangements, the emotive vocals. I mean, gosh dang, I will always admit that Michael Barnes is a great singer. It all creates a very compelling mix. The message of the song is also very compelling. In an interview, the band's guitarist Anthony Armstrong said that The War We Made is about, quote, our innate ability as humans to cause destruction in our own lives. A lot of the time, we don't even realize that we ourselves are the source of the pain. And if we want to see a change brought about, it's a fight that we have to be willing to win.
Am I alone? Am I alright? Am I insane? Am I alive? What does it take to stop waging war with?
Whether you really relate to the message or not, you definitely feel the authenticity of the message in the band's energy and passion. I don't know, maybe it is just simple butt rock. And I'm not afraid to admit that maybe I'm hearing this song with nostalgic glasses, or a nostalgic hearing aid. It hit all the right beats for me. And while I may not still love Red like I did, this song definitely made me appreciate them again. I've always had an appreciation for Need to Breathe. I've never considered them in my top 10 or anything, but I've always had them on my radar, and I really like a lot of their music. I really love their album The Reckoning, actually, and personally haven't felt like they've topped it since. They've always teetered between contemporary Christian music and mainstream music. In fact, they're one of those bands that don't like being labeled a Christian band and have never really liked boxing themselves into such a category, having opened up for such acts as Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Ben Rector, and even Taylor Swift. They've had plenty of success in the secular music world as well as the Christian music world. Lately, however, their music has been a little bit of hit or miss with me. Some of their songs can lean a little too much into the CCM realm for my liking. They recently released their new album, Out of Body, and their whole track list is a lot of hit or miss. However, there were a few tracks that made it to the top 50 that I especially did like. I'm a big lover of that country rock, arena rock kind of sound, and this song definitely scratches that itch. This song is just a bop. There's really not that much more I can say about it. I really love the catchy choruses, and I love how the song builds up. It's just a great jam that packs a good punch. The lyrics of the song are also great. A lot of people think that Mercy Shore is referring to heaven or the afterlife. Not necessarily, according to Reinhardt. In an interview, he says that the idea of the Mercy Shore is about giving away to a power that is much stronger and important than us. Despite our struggles, we're all eventually faced with the same understanding that we can't do it alone. I really love the analogy that he uses in the bridge about being a sleeping kid in the back of a car.
We're a child in the car asleep, in the driveway at night. Our mother's gonna slowly sneak our body inside.
We're all in need of somebody. Bear's explanation leaves it pretty vague as to who that somebody is. I think it's pretty safe to assume who that is, especially when considering the final verse at the end of the song. In fact, I will say that final verse is rather strange. It's almost recorded as an afterthought, but it's one of the most strange parts of the song. It somehow makes the song even more compelling.
I've been battling a broken heart. Everybody knows I'm torn apart since I was 8 years old, when I thought that God was a girl at my school. And God is wanting us to make believe, but knowing something is only a dream. Like the absolutes and the in-betweens are out of line, sometimes intertwined behind a mind in lies and fights that only fools are still trying to fight.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I have no idea how to interpret that. And I've scoured all the interviews all across the internet about that song, and I couldn't find anything talking about that last verse in that song. If anyone knows, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Yet at the same time, I kind of like how it's not so obvious about what it means. It's a breath of fresh air when all of Christian music is always so upfront and always obvious about what it's trying to say. It makes the song seem pretty personal, and I give the song points for that. Need to Breathe seems to not be interested in making music that has a message to the masses, but they write music that is very important to them and comes from the heart, and that's why I respect them. I've never been the biggest fan of Casting Crowns. A lot of their songs got overplayed back in the day, and I just didn't really get the appeal. I disliked most of their songs, but there was one song that I didn't hate, and I actually appreciate quite a lot. Praise You in This Storm had something different going for it than most "My life sucks, God" Christian songs. It really went past that common teaching that as long as you believe, God will make things better for you just like that. Praise You in This Storm answered that prevalent question: what if things don't get better? There's plenty of stories of Christians who got martyred that prove that things may very well not get better. So what then? This song shows the appropriate response to if that's ever the case. It's even in the title. Praise Him in this storm. Praise Him under all circumstances, no matter what the circumstances. Not for the sake of things getting better, but because God is who He is, and He is good. And if there was ever a year for this song to be relevant again in the world, it was 2020, 15 years later. But as you may guess, it was not Casting Crown's original version that made it on this list.
I was sure by now, God, you would have reached down.
I'll admit I did not listen to a lot of Natalie Grant growing up. She was more something that my older sisters would listen to while I listened to Newsboys and DC Talk. But I must say that she definitely got my attention when she appeared this year in the charts with this song.
And I'll praise you in this dark, and I will lift my hand, 'cause you are who you are, no matter where I am.
The orchestral arrangement, the piano, and her powerful vocal performance really assisted this song's message in piercing through to my heart.
Though my heart is torn, I will praise you in this storm.
The perfect timing of the release of this song doesn't seem accidental. In fact, there's something about Natalie's performance that makes it seem like this is more than just a cover. It's like it's a very personal song for her. It's like it's something that she went through. And that's what can really make a cover song effective. Her husband, Bernie Herms, who actually was the co-writer for the original song, also performs on the track, and he even appears on the music video. And judging by the shots of them in the video, I wouldn't be surprised if they hadn't been going through some tough times as a couple. At least that's the vibes I get. I think we all needed that reminder this year that no matter what was going on, we needed to trust God and praise Him for what He was doing. In a year where it seemed like nothing was going right, Natalie Grant offered that reminder that as Christians, we're called to get on our knees and raise our hands. I'm reminded of that passage in the Bible where Job tears his robe and shaves his head and falls on the ground, saying, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord."
I will praise you in the storm. I will praise you in the storm. Praise you in the storm. I will praise you in the storm.
Before I give the title of the next song, I just need to mention that this song has a really nice bass line in the intro.
You're a man of your word.
Yeah, very nice. Honestly, I don't really know anything about Maverick City. I don't know anything about KJ Shriven. I've seen Chandler Moore's name appear here and there as of late, but honestly, I could care less about any of that because I could listen to this hook all day.
If you said it, we believe it. If you said it, we believe it. 'Cause you're a man of your word.
The way the bass and the drums and the keys work together are so masterful and catchy. If this song doesn't at least make you bob your head, then you are not human and you're an atheist. Just kidding.
If you said it, we believe it.
But honestly, there's not a whole lot more that I can say about this song. As far as the message goes, it's pretty simple, but strong. Nothing I don't think the modern church couldn't use. If God has said it, we believe it and trust it.
God, you have never failed. You are start with me.
The energy of this song is also just so positive. Even the video has such great positive vibes. Everyone in the video just seems like a great bunch of people to hang out with. Although I will say that blue-haired girl kind of looks like she's on something. Hopefully it's the Holy Spirit. But yeah, great songwriting, great musicianship, great singing, great energy. What more could you want in a song? All right, back to my dark side. I feel like these videos are making me seem more metal than I actually am. I feel like I'm more of an indie alternative guy, but I guess Christians are more into metal than weird hippie stuff. Oh well. I'm just kind of surprised, but still glad that this stuff makes it into the Christian top 50, even if just for a short amount of time. Anyways, yeah, August Burns Red was one of those bands that I listened to a bit in my angsty teen years. Constellations and Leveler were the albums that I listened to mostly. I've always regarded the members of August Burns Red to be insanely talented musicians. I mean, Matt Greiner is probably the best metal drummer out there, and the guitarists are incredibly gifted as well. And while some of their music can seem like formulaic metalcore, I've always appreciated the fact that they always like trying different things and having fun. Like their Christmas music that implemented some elements of folk and classical music, the Legend of Zelda cover they released, the System of a Down cover they did recently. The band is just flowing with creativity, and I respect them for that. This new song is kind of your typical August Burns Red. Not that that's a bad thing, because the thing about August Burns Red is that even their not as great songs are still pretty good, and this song still kicks some serious butt. The instrumentation is still amazing, and the lyrics, as expected in a metal song, are pretty epic as well. But it's what the lyrics are about that really brought this song home for me. At first glance, it seems like this song is talking about God being our defender. It would be pretty on brand for them, but the more I looked into the story behind the song, the more I realized that wasn't true. The true meaning behind the story is actually pretty unique and intriguing. Turns out that the drummer for August Burns Red, Matt Greiner, wrote the lyrics to this song. The song is actually about his dad. In an interview, Matt says, "I went through a situation over the course of the last 2 years that was difficult. I was really struggling and my dad knew it. I was talking to him about it and my dad, for the first time in my life, got mad on my behalf. I'd always viewed love as a positive affection, whether it's a hug, a kiss, an I love you, I care about you. And for the first time in my life, I think, I saw a type of love that maybe wasn't more profound, but was equally as powerful. Seeing my dad, the song says righteous wrath, and that's what it was. The idea that you're hurting, you can hardly stand up on your own 2 feet. I'm going to hold you up. I'm in your court. I'm mad that someone else is cutting you down. I'm going to do something about it because I love you." As I was writing the song, it was about someone I really cared about, and on the other hand, it was about my dad. So hearing that story behind the song really brought out a new appreciation for me towards it. I've kind of like how this song is not all about God, but brings the focus on godly parenting and godly masculinity. Not only that, but also righteous anger. That's something that people don't talk enough about. We're taught too often as Christians to be nice, when really there are plenty of scriptures that endorse righteous anger, which would be anger that is directed at certain injustices and sinful actions, but actually doesn't sin in its application. So I really appreciate this song for what it is. Super hard-hitting, very moving, and a perfect song to jam on Father's Day. Yep, this song still hits me hard. If you want all my thoughts on this song, you can watch my full review of it. My opinion hasn't really changed much on this song at all, although I know that Kanye has been through a lot since I released that review. He's had some mental breakdowns that were made pretty public on Twitter. He lost in his election run for president, which really surprised him for some reason. And now he's going through a divorce. Not trying to judge him because I really am concerned for him. This track really gave me hope for his future as a Christian artist.
Shout down on us, wash us in the blood, wash us in the blood, whole life being thugs.
Praying the best for you, Kanye, and I'm still holding out for that next album.
Whole life being thugs, no choice selling drugs, genocide what it does, slavery what it does.
Speaking of songs that I've reviewed, this song's on here too. I played this song a lot last year. I just jammed this song. I even introduced this song to my church. It's a perfect worship jam for getting hyped about God. Not much of my opinion has changed on this song since my review. Now, I know some people I talked to said that they didn't like the song because they're not big fans of Elevation Church, and I get it. We all know I was no fan of The Blessing. I'm aware that some of their songs are a little lacking when it comes to having sound theology and lyrics with substance. And I understand the criticisms of Stephen Furtick and his teaching. He's not really the style that I like, and he tends to lean more towards inspirational speaking rather than teaching. Personally, I like to use the method of chew the meat, spit out the bones. I take the things that are good and reject the things that are bad. I have to do this all the time with Bethel and Hillsong as well. And for me, I just find this song perfectly harmless, talking about how God has given us new life because of how he died on the cross and rose from the dead, and how we're resurrected in him. I just don't find anything wrong in it, and don't even find it that shallow like many other worship songs. I don't know, that's just my opinion. To me, this song is a fun song, and one of the most unique worship songs I've heard in a while. Okay, I need to preface this one by saying that this next one is an extreme tonal shift. From this point on in this video, where I'm talking about this list, there will be no more jokes. I really have to handle this delicately, because even before all the craziness of this year, before the elections, before the racial tension, even before the pandemic broke out, tragedy had already struck within an American family that effectively impacted the whole Christian music community. This one's going to be a tough one. So for those of you who don't know, the news came out in October of 2019 that Truett McKeon, the eldest son of Toby McKeon, aka Toby Mac, had unexpectedly passed away of cardiac arrest at the young age of 21. Later, it would be reported that the cardiac arrest had been caused by an accidental drug overdose. This news hit hard for a lot of people, including me. Ever since Toby's first album, Truett had been featured on at least one track for pretty much every one of Toby's albums up until recent years. Apparently, there was tension between Toby and Truett because of the decisions Truett had been making in his life. Apparently, Truett seemed to be going in a bad direction and eventually moved out to pursue a career in music in LA. Toby even wrote about it in one of his songs a couple of years ago called Scars.
Now you won't take my phone call, you won't text me back at all. I just wanna see you, I can't stand to see you go. Yesterday I missed you, yesterday I played your song. I'm oversimplifying.
Hearing all this news was very shocking to me, especially since having used to be such a big fan of Toby's music and hearing Truett featured on a lot of his father's music for so long, it almost felt like I had grown up with him. I had no idea all the things that had been going on in his life, and I couldn't imagine what Toby was going through. But we got a pretty good picture of what that must have been like when he released a song in January 2020, 21 years. And I have to say, this is a pretty brutal listen. I know it may seem weird for me to say these things, especially since after I went pretty hard on Toby for his other song in the last video, but I've still always respected him and I feel his pain. One of the saddest things in the world to me is watching a father mourn the loss of his child. They always say it's something that a parent should never have to go through. And I believe it, especially with it being such a sudden and unexpected passing. The verses give clear pictures of Toby's depression following the passing of his son.
Woke up cause the light poured in. Day 2 let the flood begin. Day 1 left me in my bed. I can barely remember it.
Toby then gets really raw and honest with God as he asks questions that I know most people in his shoes would ask.
Why would you give and then take him away? Suddenly in, could you not let it fade? What I would give for a couple of days.
I don't know the details of Toby's relationship with Truett in the days before his passing, or even where Truett was at in terms of his faith. Frankly, it's not anyone's business. We do know that Truett performed his first solo show in Franklin, Tennessee, and Toby was able to see him perform before he flew out on tour. Unfortunately, it was a week after this performance that Truett would pass, and Toby would cancel the rest of his tour and fly back home. Knowing these things, it seems that amends were being made between the two of them. Concerning Truett's faith, Toby seems to sing pretty confidently about being able to see him again in heaven.
Is it just across the Jordan, or a city in the stars? Are you singing with the angels? Are you happy where you are? Well, until this show is over and you run into my arms, God has you in heaven, but I have you in my heart.
Even later in the song, Toby sings about how Truett had expressed his desire to change things in his life. Either way, I can't imagine the frustration and doubt that Toby must have been going through, or even still may be going through. This is what makes the song really unique. It's honest, it's raw, it's emotional. It communicates doubt and trust at the same time. Hearing the emotion in the lyrics, the music, seeing Toby express those emotions in the music video, watching the clips of Truett, I don't know how this could not have been my #1 song this year. Every time I hear this song, it's hard not to at least tear up. And I honestly hardly ever get that emotional listening to a song. I considered doing a review just on this song, but I figured there's too much risk of seeming insensitive, and I didn't want to seem like that I was capitalizing off of the tragedy. I thought that including it in this list would be appropriate, and I just pray that I didn't misspeak at all during this video. I thought that including it in this list would be appropriate enough, and that I pray that I didn't misspeak at any point while talking about this song. I doubt Toby will ever see this video, but if he does and if he requests it, I will remove this video and edit this section out. You have my word. 21 years hit me like a sword to the heart, and it takes a powerful song to achieve that. And I wouldn't say it's just the circumstances around the song that make it powerful. It's obvious to me that Toby poured his heart and soul out into this song, and that's the stuff that really gets me. My prayers go out to Toby and his family. I really pray that for the last year or so, God has shown you his love through all of this, and will continue to do so in the coming years.
21 years makes a man full grown. 21 years, what a beautiful loan. 21 years, I love everyone. Thank you, Lord, for my beautiful son.
Whew. I did it. Got through all the lists. I hope you guys appreciated all that. Let me know your thoughts on my whole list, and let me know what songs stuck out to you in 2020. I'd love to hear it. I'm still doing the Cliff's Picks Spotify playlist, so you guys should definitely check it out. This time around, I've included all the songs that I had on this list, plus 10 others that I picked. So if you want to go check that out and maybe get introduced to some new music, you can check it out. The link in the description. I'm working on a lot of things. In fact, I had to pause a lot just to work on these videos. I wanted to get these done, and I'm working on a mini documentary that's basically what the As I Lay Dying videos that I did is. It's in that style, and what that video is about, here is a little hint.
Snap back to reality.
Wow, what is that about, huh? Right? I got some other things that I want to get to, you know, so I'm really excited to be back in the game for now. You know, I'm hoping to keep at it. It's just kind of hard when, you know, life is so busy and this isn't my full-time paying job. I do this for fun. I do this for you guys, so I hope that you appreciate it. You can show some support by liking this video if you enjoyed what you watched, and invite your friends to, you know, to subscribe and check out the videos, whatever. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's all I got. I hope you, I wish all of you an incredible 2021. I hope it's better than last year. I mean, I had a pretty good 2020. I had a lot of good things happen to me despite everything, which, you know, all praise to God. A lot of things that have just made me excited for the future. So, anyways, God bless you all. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And I'll see you guys in the next video.
Wowee! You made it to the video end screen. which means there's gonna be some video suggestions coming very soon. There they are. So hey, you can check out any of my other videos, or you can check out the Podwood forecast that I do with my friend Mitchell. And hey, don't forget to subscribe. I love you so much. Yay.